And we are live. Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We're
Yay!
here coming in hot today, folks. Joy Ross, that's me, and Ame-Lia. Ame-Lia, that's her. Hey, we're here as we are every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central, 11 a.m. Pacific. Just having soul to soul conversations. We've been doing these for, I think this is our fourth, right? So happy anniversary. Happy 1 month anniversary to us and this
Woo!
show. Woohoo! So, where do we want to start, Ame-Lia? Should we introduce ourselves just like quickly?
Yeah, let's introduce ourselves. You go first.
Okay. I'm Joy and I am many things. Let's see. What do I want to share today? I am a person who loves God, who loves people, who is super grateful to be living in her purpose. Why am I talking about myself in the third person? I have no idea, but I'm just going to flow with that. I'm super grateful, really. I've been thinking about gratitude a lot lately. I'm grateful to honestly be able to say that I believe in my core, that I know today in this season of my life what my purpose is, what my calling is, why I was divinely created, what I am here on earth to do. And I'm walking in that. And it's a really good feeling. It doesn't mean that my life is perfect because it certainly is not. But what it does mean is I'm very rooted and grounded and committed. And so the way that I show up living out my purpose is that I'm an author. I am a radio talk show host, a podcast host. My show is called Living Inside Out Today, and that really sums up what I am all about in this season of my life, living from the inside out and helping as many people as I can to do the same. And so I'm also a business owner and I really I work in the communications arena and helping clients who are primarily working in underserved, overburdened areas and helping them to do all of the things that are associated with engaging the communities that they are serving and keeping people informed, keeping them involved, and bridging divides where they exist culturally, economically. And so I'm just happy to be here. And I'm in this space because I'm committed to showing up and using my voice to speak, inspire, encourage, motivate, uplift, and just really spread love and joy. So that's me. I can't hear you.
Hi.
There we go. I'm like, uh-oh.
2022, still muting. All right. I love your story, Joy, every time. It's amazing. I am Ame-Lia Tamburrini, and I am an international speaker. I actually have a talk tonight I am super jazzed about. I am also a podcast host. My podcast is called Circle of Change, and it's really about turning everyday people into change makers from the inside. I am a published author, and what I have come to know about myself is that I have this gift of bringing to the forefront, making visible the invisible issues and the voices in the room. And today I get to apply that skill working across cultures and creating solutions to the problems that the world needs to create solutions for these days around housing and public health inequities and criminal justice. And I love that that is the work that I'm up to in the world because that was not always my path. You know, I was not always using my voice and in these ways, and that's one reason why I love that we have this show, Joy, because it's really a healing journey for me. And that I grew up in a household where it was not okay for me to use my voice, and I really had this story that using my voice would actually lead to bad things. So I kept quiet. And man, I carried that story with me everywhere I went in all of my relationships. And it was painful. It was painful because I would hold my voice in, not say what was really needing to be said, but inside I had so much resentment, and eventually the lid would pop and I would be just like this rageful person, and I actually just thought I was a feisty Italian. That's what I called myself.
Mm.
And then I woke up one day and I was totally alone. And I didn't want that in my life anymore. I was so isolated and lonely. And so I did the work and I started to surround myself with people that could help me get to know myself and understand my emotions, understand my trauma. And that work has allowed me to show up as my full self today
Mhm.
and has allowed me to step into the spaces that I can where I am creating space for all voices to be heard.
Mm.
And I love that. I think sometimes we need pain to wake us up to new possibilities in our life. And that has certainly been the case for me. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that kind of story. So that's who I am today.
And I'm smiling not because there's anything to smile about when it comes to pain, but I smiled when you said that because I feel like for me, it's that I made a choice to turn my pain, to allow my pain, that's more accurate, to be
Yeah.
used for a purpose. And if I could have had a pain-free life, I would have been like, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I'm like, oh gosh, please no pain. But sometimes that's just life. Um, and there's always an opportunity to learn, right? Through pain. So I love that you went into all of that. And that made me think about really this journey that I know we're both on, which is personal development and really just being committed to show up every day and do the best we can each day. Some days are better than others. Just do the best we can to really try to be the best version of us. And that's what I'm committed to. And I am so committed to, I use this phrase all the time, living from the inside out, because it's really become my personal mantra. Um, because for me, I lived so much of my life the opposite way for so many years, reaching outside of myself and following, that whole society's blueprint for success and all of that, thinking that that would create something for me internally, produce some things internally, happiness, joy, um, feeling fulfilled, and all those things, and finding that you can check off all those boxes on society's checklist of, oh, here's the generic blueprint for a happy life. You can do all of those things or many of them and achieve external goals and still find yourself not feeling fulfilled, still find yourself without joy, still find yourself having anxiety and lacking peace. So that was my previous self. And that's what led me on my journey that I'm still on today. I'm just further along than I was 15 years ago or whatever. So yeah, and we're showing up here, Ame-Lia, right? Let's tell the folks why we're doing this show. It's basically because we both discovered just in our conversations with each other that what one of the many things we have in common is we're not down with, we are not okay with uh this climate in society right now where people are afraid to speak. People are walking on eggshells because they either don't want to offend or they don't know what to do with their thoughts and feelings, and they don't want to put words to it, because if I put words to what I'm thinking, that makes it real. And so there's all this overly politically correctness, cancel culture, and we just decided enough of that. There needs to be space and a forum for people to just speak from the heart, have conversations about real topics, and in an environment where if there is a difference of opinions, that is totally okay. Doesn't become something that we have to fight with each other over, or hate each other over. And so that's really what we're trying to do. Showing up here is just be in this different space that I think we see too little of. You know, we turn on our televisions or devices, or it's like wherever you look, people are angry, conversations are happening, and tensions are high, and doesn't appear to be a real effort to seek understanding when people are talking. There doesn't appear to be a lot of respect. There doesn't appear to be a lot of empathy. There doesn't appear to be curiosity. Like, hey, let's just explore these topics. So, what do we want to, speaking of that, what's on your mind? What topic do we want to dive into today?
Well, what you're what you're actually bringing up for me is what I'm talking about tonight, and I'm just gonna plug that talk tonight because it is open for anybody to come. It's at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern Time, and it's all about listening to
Mm,
connect, which is an essential tool for change makers of this time. And it taps into all of the themes that you just talked about. One of the themes that I pull out is this culture that we have of not using our voices and not stepping into those conversations, and how that's actually an intentional act of colonization. Like,
mm,
there were big powers at play that said, there are many folks here that we do not want to hear from. And so there were structures put in place and a lot of discourse that very intentionally shut a lot of people up, women being one of those. And tonight I'm speaking to women. It's Female Wave of Change Canada. And to me, that's so empowering when we can start to understand our behavioral patterns through that lens to say, you know what, it's not our fault. We can have some compassion with how it is we are showing up. And certainly on my learning journey, I've had to have a lot of compassion because when I opened my eyes to see how I was really being, it was painful. I did not like who I saw. And
mm,
I had to own that, like you said, take responsibility and make a choice to show up differently. And that's been this journey of unpacking all these layers, not only my family layers and the ancestral layers, but the collective layers that are upon all of us that prevent us from speaking from our heart and truly hearing one another.
mm,
Because we're always hearing through a filter. We're always listening through a filter. And if we don't
mm,
understand what's in that filter, then we're just going to keep showing up in certain ways and thinking that's who we are. But that's not who we are at our core. We are love, we are joy, we are compassion, we are patience. And so
mm,
that's just what came up for me. I don't know if we want to carry that theme along,
mhm,
but I wanted to get those words out because that's what was in my heart.
mhm. Thank you for that. And hey, we talk all the time. I didn't even know that you're doing this thing tonight. So I wrote down 6:30 p.m. Central, and you'll have to send me the info.
I will.
Um, so what I keyed in on as you were talking was that piece about pulling back layers, which for me brought up that that is an ongoing life journey thing. I don't think we ever get to a point where it's like, oh, I've peeled back and peeled off all of the societal conditioning. I've peeled back all the layers, and then now I've arrived. So that resonated with me because To me, that's part of the everyday trying to just do what you can, be aware, try to be present, utilize the tools that you know, um, in the moment, and try to just be the best version of you. And that part of that is this peeling back part, right? Because when an emotion or a thought comes up, when you're in a situation, you're in a conversation, you mentioned listening, right? So, like, let's say when we're in conversation with other people, there is this automatic process. And you're right, we do filter information. I don't know that we can turn that off ever because that's part of how our brains work. I think it's more a matter of being aware that this is how the brain works, being aware that, ooh, in this moment, even if I don't feel it, even if I'm not consciously thinking it, there's something happening in my brain that's filtering what this person is saying, and just being aware of that in the moment and knowing that, oh, wait, how am I actually reacting to what I'm hearing? And then choosing how we want to react and respond to people instead of just allowing all of that to be on autopilot. That's something that
Mhm.
I've been trying to
Mhm.
be more intentional about myself. Um, Sometimes I'm good at it, and sometimes, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes at the end of a day, I'm reflecting back and then finding, oh, there was that moment where I was in this situation, and oh, that's what that was. I let my
Mhm.
feelings drive. I let these thoughts that really weren't even true stories drive in the moment. And that's okay, because then tomorrow's a new day. We get to
Mm.
wake up and choose differently.
I love that. I think one question that might be coming up for folks that are listening, and certainly I get this question a lot, is like, okay, well, if these are automatic responses, and they are, they're literally a survival mechanism. Our brain was
Mhm,
geared to protect us at all costs. And so
mhm,
we're going to go into fight, flight, freeze, and fawn like instantly.
mhm,
And so it is really about creating that moment of awareness to be like, ooh, yeah, what is happening for me in my body right now? Like,
mhm,
why am I feeling that? And what's the story I'm telling myself? And how do I just calm my nervous system down to get more present and show up how I want to be in the world? That's a very complex process. And I'm curious for you, Joy,
yeah,
what what are you using, or how is it that you create that moment of pause,
mhm,
so that you do actually have a choice in that moment to show up in a new way?
mhm. I love that you asked that. And actually, I was gonna say 2, but it might be 3 things that bing, bing, bing popped up, immediately. First is it reminded me of a conversation that I had yesterday. I pre-recorded my show. So I encourage people to tune in to Living Inside Out today, tomorrow, Thursday, the 17th, because one of the things that my guest this week mentioned, because we were sort of talking about this, and on the show, I'm all about bringing everything down to, okay, what are some micro steps that people can take, right? How do people practically apply what we're saying? So she mentioned, which I loved, we've all probably heard of journaling, but she talked about emotional journaling, right? Where literally at the end of every day, just start a practice of looking back through the day, scan your day, and with a specific focus on what were your emotions? What were those points during the day where you felt your emotions were out of control, whatever that means. But whether it was, oh, yeah, I was angry earlier, or oh, I felt like really um, powerless or resentful, or whatever it is, tune into that and just, first of all, simply start observing. Don't try to analyze it, but just cultivate a habit initially of becoming aware of your emotions. So I would say that would be a step 1. That's a micro step, and it's easy because we're not trying to analyze, not trying to go all deep like, "Oh, well, why did I feel that?" What No, just observe it. And then I think that's key, because once we start paying attention And this is scientifically proven. This is why people talk about measuring your progress and having goals that you can track. Once we start tracking things, paying attention, just the very act of doing that creates a shift.
Mm.
So for me, I didn't even know that I was sort of already doing that process without physically sitting down and writing out every day. But for me, it's like in the moment, I've developed a habit of paying attention to myself. So, like, literally, I'll go into what I call like Joy the Scientist mode. And I like to laugh. I like to bring humor into my life. So, and I'm a visual thinker. So I literally envision myself putting on a little lab coat and I've got like my little clipboard. And while I am living my life, I'm aware that I'm also observing myself throughout the day. Now, this may resonate with some people, and for some, it may not. But you asked me, what are some things that I do? So, this is one of the things that I do is I literally observe myself. And that keeps me focused on what am I actually doing right now? What am I actually feeling? And it's a non-judgmental thing because when a scientist is doing an experiment, they're not emotionally attached. They're just simply making observations. Oh, this little rat did this. Okay, let me jot that down. There's no feeling attached to that. So for me, that works because I'm curious. I like to learn. And so I have found that that's something that just naturally feels aligned for me. And I would say that's another part of it too, is find what works for you. We're all of us are different. So I would say, yeah, find what works, experiment a little bit. For me, because I've been in this work for so long, certain things that were once non-existent have now just become a part of who I am. So like that little scientist Joy, she wears a lab coat, she puts on her glasses and she gets out her little clipboard. And it's I'm literally observing. And then when I see things that are like the old me, for me it's almost instantaneous now. I'm like, oh, wait, pause, make an adjustment and then move forward in the best version of me, right?
Mm.
That takes time, but it
Mhm.
starts with just trying something. Or you know, for a person who's never thought about any of this, maybe it's just get a notepad and have it next to you. I know notepads are old school, but there's something to writing things down. Um, and then when you feel like your emotions are flaring up, just jot that down. And I would think even doing that is creating that little space, it's creating that little moment to allow you a few seconds to then move forward with different energy. And there are other things that I do. Like I literally will pause and physically shift my energy to get into a different space mentally and emotionally, like physical movement. I'll turn on music and pump some high energy music sometimes, or for me, a lot of times it's worship music, depending on what I feel that I need. So, praise and worship music for me is a huge go to because always at the end of a song, a high praise and worship song, whatever it is that was bothering me, it dissipates because I'm now in a totally different zone of gratitude. Um, I don't even know how many things I've listed,
Yeah.
but now it's just
That
coming out. That's
yeah.
another thing. Shift focus to what am I how can I turn this? Like for me yesterday, I walked out, it was snowing, it was snow on the ground. A part of me wanted to go into complaint mode, right? This is like a totally practical example of how this works for me. And then in that instant, I literally started to have a conversation with myself because Ame-Lia, I remembered something that you said I think it was in our show last week or the week before, where you said we should question everything. You said question our thoughts. So, like, even with something like the weather, where we're just like in the habit of complaining. I remembered that yesterday. And instead of complaining about the snow, I'm like, wait, there is another choice. Like, I can shift this. And in that moment, I'm like, let me just really look at this differently. And I started to see how beautiful the snow is, how beautiful the trees are. And oh, yeah, snow is something that, and just started thinking about all of the beautiful things about snow and creation and the four seasons. So that's like a thought shift thing, but all of the things boil down to intention. If we decide, hey, I want to start showing up differently, or oh, I want to start creating space in my day, I think intention, if you have the intention, that's going to shift you, pull you toward doing it. Without intention, nothing happens. That's my totally off the cuff, um, long-winded, but with a lot of little nuggets.
Yeah, I think, amazing, Joy, everything that you've shared, always. Thank you for that. For me, I am resonating a lot with what you say in terms of how it is that I stay present in those moments. The question I ask myself at the end of the day, it's not a big journaling exercise. I just ask, what did I learn about myself today? And I love that focus because so often we are focused on external circumstances, what other people did, what other people said, all the things out there that we can't actually change.
Mm,
And I think what both you and I have also learned in our journeys of learning about ourselves is that the power resides in learning about ourselves
mm,
and how it is we show up. And then when the focus remains there, uh, it shifts everything because then we have a choice of, well, how it is do we want to be?
mm,
And we can support that by setting an intention. And we can support that by honing our own practices for being aware in the moment of what is happening for us. And we can hone that through so many different ways. Meditation, that's why meditation is so supportive because it's really just us practicing presence.
mhm,
And so often we're just simply not present in the moment. And when
mhm,
we are present, there's actually no anxiety or angst that resides there. It's simply being. What causes anxiety is being in the future or being in the past. And it's a nuance. It can feel very nuanced in the moment, um, but it's that practice of presence, and then we have options in terms of how we want to be. So, and of
mhm.
course, I love the whole concept of using life as an experiment.
Yeah.
Where it's this is all we are meant to learn. We are meant to grow. We are meant to expand. That's why we are here. That is the journey we are on.
Mhm,
And, but we live in a culture, we live in a society that has told us to cling to things, cling to relationships, cling to things being a certain way. And there's only suffering in that clinging. So, speaking of topics that we've brought up long time ago on our first, long time ago, on that
long
first
time ago.
show,
Yeah,
weeks
3
ago,
weeks ago.
this whole concept of letting go, letting go, and it's continuous.
Yeah. Gosh, were you in on that conversation? Were you like
Mm.
a little butterfly on the wall? Conversation with my guest yesterday, because we were talking about dreams and the importance of dreaming, and she went into like, where do your dreams live? And I'm not going to give it away because I really want people to hear the show. It's so good. But she talked about past, present, and future, right? And then you just brought that up. So I'm hearing it twice now this week. And it's so there's something there because you're right, Ame-Lia. We're taught and conditioned to hang on to things, cling to things. And the reality is the past is just that. It's the past, and it's almost like a ghost, right? I don't know why I just thought of the ghosts of Christmas past and Christmas present, probably because next month is Christmas, right? So it's a shadow. It's not real for right now. The future is the same thing. It hasn't even happened yet. We don't even know if we'll be here tomorrow. So why do we spend so much time fixated on either the future or the past? It really is wasted energy. There are reasons why we do it,
Mhm.
but the ideal is to be in the right now, not for like some woo woo. We hear just so much talk about, oh, be present. And sometimes people click off because it's like, well, what is that? It's just like meditation, right? Oh, I'm just going to click off because what is, no, the reason why it's important is because that is where the opportunity lies, in the present. And to me,
Mhm.
that's so empowering, just like it's empowering to sort of make fun, make light of life, and yeah, see yourself as, I'm going to try this today. It really opens up something on the inside, and then
Mhm.
everything doesn't have to be so heavy. It's like we're never tied to a decision. We have power to change things. We can switch things up. We can try something new, and so if it doesn't work, cool, then try something else.
Mhm.
And again, for me, all of that is important because all of that is connected to really being able to have joy
Yeah.
every day, which we've talked about repeatedly. And so I'm just on this joy thing lately. Joy, fulfillment, freedom. Those are like my life themes. Um, and I'll plug also, speaking of joy, fulfillment, and freedom, my master class on that topic. How to have more joy in your life, more freedom, more fulfillment. Next Tuesday, the 22nd, 1 p.m. Central Time. Check my social media for registration link. It's free. You just have to register. That's so huge. People
Mhm.
need more joy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I just wanna name and then maybe we can move on to one thing we're celebrating and,
Yeah, because
you
it is
know it is
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Woo-hoo!
But just on the note of like, yeah, why do we carry around the past with us? And, we don't at all want to be, what's the word? But just to like, mm, make that sound like it's just easy and like, why don't you already?
Yeah, none of
Because
this is easy.
yeah, yeah, because the past literally like, it lives in our body. It lives in our body, and so if we're not doing the work to integrate it and really get to know it and then release it, it is there and it'll continue to show up, and we will all always have our past with us, um, and it is a conscious effort and a process of doing the work, and we can bring joy into that process, which is,
Yes.
what we're gonna shift to now. So, Joy Ross, what are you celebrating right now?
I'm celebrating that this is my birthday week, and,
Yay!
so I'm celebrating
Right.
life. I'm celebrating really, I'm celebrating all of the things. I realize how much we as humans take for granted, and um just the fact that we're here right now able to open our mouths and speak. There are people who don't have use of their voices, who are literally mute, right? The fact that I could sit here and hear you, I have my hearing, and I'm not, somebody might be hearing this and thinking, okay, that's just no, but I am serious. Like, I am grateful to even have my mental faculties to be able to engage in conversations. What a privilege to talk about these higher level, which is really what it is, right? Higher level ideals about being your best self and unpacking your, and all of these things, when there are literally people who don't have food to eat. And I'm feeling, I feel like the in my voice changing, my energy shifting, because I'm so aware that there are so many people who don't have basic needs. And they don't have their basic needs met. So I'm grateful for all of that. That I have heat in my house. I'm in a climate right now where there's snow outside. It's cold. There are people who don't have heat. Um, and there's so many opportunities. I'm grateful for all the platforms, and I'm celebrating all of these things internally, right? All the platforms, like just to be able to get on the internet and have a show and be able to talk like this, my weekly show, to be able to be doing work in my business in communities that's all focused on creating jobs and giving people skill sets so they can provide for their families. That's what I'm celebrating, that I'm able to do that. I'm celebrating that my life has been transformed, that I actually know that there is a God who loves me and who will never forsake me. And he's with me every day. And I get these downloads. What a privilege. What an honor, to be in relationship with the one who created the universe, and that I get to be here to celebrate another year of life on the planet. That's a mouthful, but hey, that's me. I've got there's a lot, and I always have a lot to say about a lot of things. That's what I'm celebrating. All of that. What about you? What are you celebrating?
Beautiful. Well, I'm celebrating it's your birthday week.
Yay!
Yay! I'm so grateful. So grateful that you came into this world when you did and we connected soul to soul when we did. I'm so grateful for our friendship, this relationship, and partnership. Joy. Um, I'm I'm just gonna pick one thing because, like, hands raised to everything that you just said. It's so easy to get caught up in the minutia of the drama of the, you know, of the privileged life,
Mm,
and it's great to take our awareness to that place and really ground ourselves in all that we do have.
mm,
One thing I'm really celebrating this week is that, once I had a dream that, I would have a small group of friends that I would be on the phone with regularly, like once a week or every day or whatever, and there's a long period of my life where I did not have that,
mm.
and I have that now in my life, which
Yay.
I've just been really sinking into that this week and being like, "All right, like I did manifest that. I set that
Mhm.
intention and also did the internal work required to attract in these beautiful souls in my life." And I feel so grateful to have all the support I have around me in physical form and non-physical form. So that's what
Mm.
I'm celebrating.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, because yeah, I feel the warmth in that, right? The community. And I relate to that too. I'm grateful for that too. I didn't always have that either.
Mm.
That's a blessing.
Mhm.
So yeah.
All right,
Tis
y'all.
tis the season for joy and gratitude. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're tuning in now, like, leave us some comments in the chat. Let us know what resonated with you and what you're celebrating. We'd love to hear from you. And we will be back next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central. And let us know too what topics you want to chat about, because we're open
Yeah.
to whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Including, like, what's on your mind?
Yeah.
What's bugging you? You
Yes.
know, what are you feeling joy about? What are you focused on during this season? We wanna know.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk back to us.
All right.
All right, till next week. Love and
Ciao.
peace.